Okay, so I guess we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Sven Wegner, co-founder of Mainstage Hub. And today we have got Amit here. He's the founder and CEO at CVVIZ. We welcome you to our Mainstage Hub Founder Coffee Chat series, Season 2, Episode 2. And today we're going to talk about recent trends in the hiring practices. Before we start, we're going to give it 5 more minutes for everyone to join. So why don't you all go grab yourself a coffee, and we will see you in 5 minutes. Okay, so who do we have here? So we've got Mridula here, we've got Vaishnavi, we have Jagrati, we've got Harsh, Pratinav, Debashish, we've got Kashish, we've got Atul, we've got Anshuman, we've got Sudhir. Hi, Sudhir. Awesome. So just as a spoiler alert as well, we are recording this session and we are also streaming this live on YouTube. In case any of you and the participants want to come on stage and ask questions, please raise your hand. There's on the top right, there's a raise your hand button. Again, we are recording this session, so if you do not want to show yourself, then it's best if you come on stage on audio only. We have to do this because of GDPR. So I can see that Francis has joined from Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Francis, for making it. I know it's late over there. Thank you so much for joining. So if anyone of you have questions, please put it into the chat, and we will make sure that your answers get answered. Or if you wait until the end of the session, we will have a 10 minutes Q&A where you can raise your hand and come on stage with us and ask those questions directly to Amit. We'll give it 1 more minute and then we will kickstart this. Okay, I can see a couple of people joining again. And we've got our friend Jerry from Chicago. Thank you so much, Jerry, for making it to the call. I know it's late. And we have Michaela from Frankfurt. Thank you so much for joining. And to the audience on YouTube and Facebook Live, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. And someone from our team will pick up these questions and we will redirect them to Amit. Awesome. I think it's time to start. Again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sven. I'm the co-founder of Mainstage Hub. And today I've got Amit here, the founder and CEO of CVVIZ. Welcome, Amit.
Hi, Sven. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome.
Glad to be here. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have. So today's topic is about the recent trends in hiring practices. Before we do that, why don't you just let us know a little bit about yourself and also a little bit about CVIZ?
Sure. So before starting my venture of CVs, and by the way, I'm a first-time entrepreneur. So I was working as a vice president for JP Morgan, which also means I was doing a lot of hiring. And we were expanding our teams in Mumbai and Bangalore. And as a part of that, I was directly involved with the recruitment, not just taking a few interviews, but right from sourcing the candidates till, interviewing them, talking to them, and we have seen a lot of people dropping off through the funnel and all of that. So the biggest problem we realized back then was like the resumes or the candidates that were applying were not so relevant. And this is after like they have come to 2 to 3 rounds of screening, right? With different recruiters, maybe from recruitment agencies, in-house recruiters and all. So the question was always there that why, if I'm getting 20 or 50 resumes after 2 levels of screening, why there is so much of gap between what we were looking for and the candidates we have. So that's when I thought about having an intelligent solution where we can actually do the matchmaking between the kind of people we want to hire and the kind of requirement we have, right? So that was the first kicking point where I thought about building this. And that's when I came up with an algorithm, rookie algorithm back then. But somehow it started working. And then I thought of making this into a bigger idea.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amit. You actually answered part of my next question, which was why recruitment, what are the hiring problems, and what challenges were faced. Or maybe if you can just delve a little bit deeper into different aspects of the recruitment.
Sure. As I said, that was just the kick-in point, right? Because I was a hiring manager largely, and the biggest problem I was dealing with, was like matchmaking process, where we were spending a lot of time looking at irrelevant candidates. And when I jumped into the whole bigger problem, so when I started to take this as a full-time, job, to solve this problem of resume screening, I started talking to a lot of recruiters, and as a low-hanging fruit, I used to go to recruitment agencies, speak to a lot of recruiters, the founders of recruitment agencies, to see what kind of problem, why there's a problem of mismatch. Right? And as I started working with them, the first 2 years or 3 years, we focused on solving the recruitment, resume screening problem between the matchmaking. But as we kept talking about recruitment to a lot of recruiters, hiring managers, and recruiters across the world. So by the third year, we started having some traction from the outside India as well. And when we were speaking to them, we realized there were so many other problems as well, not just resume screening. Although resume screening is a bigger problem, it's a manual process, it takes a lot of time. But the problem even started before that, something like sourcing the candidate. So typically, if you talk about any recruitment process in any company, most of these companies, they generally, and especially the big ones, they rent the candidate database. So if I have to take an example in India, it's Naukri.com or Indeed.com or Dice.com or Monster.com. These kind of solutions, they subscribe to them, and they try to do outbound hiring, where they use keywords to search for the candidates. And then you have to call every single candidate with the first question, are you looking for a change, right? And then the set of questions that you need to ask. So after you're done speaking to probably 80, 100 candidates, you might get 15 resumes. And then when 15 resumes put into the screening process, only a couple of them gets called. So you know how much effort you need to put in there. Now, the question was, why it was taking so long when you have a ready-made database like Indeed or Naukri or Monster? What was so difficult about it? Many scenarios. So let me tell you. So I'll talk with the most relevant and most challenging at this point, because the highest volume of hiring happens between like 2 to 3 years experience to 8 to 10 years of experience. That's the major volume game, right? That's where the biggest hiring happens. Now, if I'm talking about this range as of in 2020, it's 2022, right? So we're talking about Generation Z. Now, if we talk about Generation Z, it's more of their internet generation. They're also called as. They have seen internet right from the time they were born, right? So, and they're a lot, they spend a lot of time on the visual mediums like Instagram and YouTube. We have seen that, Instagram is the highest I think is the rapidly growing platform compared to Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. Now, if we talk about them, there are many other characteristics with respect to them. Like they prefer to be on the platforms that are more relevant to them. For example, if you want to hire best programmers, right? The better place to go for is like GitHub or Stack Overflow. They don't like to be on LinkedIn, or they don't like to be on platforms like Indeed.com, or they prefer these kind of platforms. Okay. Now, similarly, the best designers are available on Behance or Dribbble, this kind of platform. If you want to find a lot of good marketing people, Instagram is a better choice, right? But this never come into the recruitment process. Even if you think about recruitment process today, most of the companies would think about like going to LinkedIn, posting a job, or going to Indeed.com. They never think about doing something like running ads on Instagram or running ads on Google. Nobody thinks about this. But this is the fact. This generation, they spend a lot of time on these platforms because they don't prefer, as I said, they prefer to be on the platforms that are more relevant, that adds more value. Second thing that you see, that gig economy is moving up rapidly, meaning that a lot of new generation people, they want to be independent. They want to be a freelancer, they want to work for themselves, right? Another good statistics would be, which I just read yesterday, in 2015 the number of startups in India were 5,000. By end of 2021 we have 60,000 startups in India alone, right? That shows that a lot of people are getting into the zone where they want to work for themselves, where they want to do what they believe in, right? So this also reflects in the way recruitment has been happening for generation. It needs to change, right? So the first problem is you need to take your jobs to the places where the candidates are, not like still believe in 2 or 3 decades old solutions where you just go to database and try to find candidate. Be more relevant. And another big thing I'll just touch upon in a minute is, other day we were discussing with some other co-founders, and we were thinking what is going to be the biggest factor in the next decade or so that's going to make companies successful. And the answer is the candidate experience or the customer experience, right? So candidate is also a customer. So the best experience that you give them, they're going to stick to you. For example, so that's what I'm saying. So it's not just posting your job ad on one of the platforms. It's more like how you engage them, how you provide them with the right data, right information, how you keep them feel more valued. This is all going to play a huge role in the next year, even in the recruitment industry, right? So these are many other challenges other than resume screening challenge that we just started with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There's so many information points I would like to touch upon. Coming back, Instagram, I never knew, like, even we use Instagram maybe for brand building, for maybe promoting a bit about the startups, but I never knew that we could use Instagram for hiring. So I'm going to definitely try that out. And yes, I agree with you when you say that, hey, it's not just enough for you to post jobs on LinkedIn or the other platforms. There's something more. Now, coming back to one core question, you mentioned it was really hard for you to hire candidates back then, or even now. Like, we all know it, I'm hiring, you're hiring, and oftentimes it's very hard. Do you think the factor behind that, is it the market? Is it the HR relating to this problem? If you could elaborate a bit on that, that would be great.
Sure. Hiring is one of the oldest functions, right? Take any industry, right from 1700th century. Hiring is one of the core functions where every company had to hire, right? And hiring has always been, and especially if we talk about last 3-4 decades, it's always been a candidate-driven market, meaning candidate always has the last say. We have heard many stories, candidate, dropping off the last moment. They don't join on the last day, or they don't join when they're supposed to join. They take some other off. There's so many stories about that. And it is all related to what I just said in the beginning, right? The first thing is you need to reach to the candidate at the right places, right? For example, you just mentioned that Instagram could be a solution. A lot of people have noticed this, and you probably know this already. Google, and if you search, like if I'm a candidate, if I just search for marketing analyst job in Mumbai, right? The first result I get is by Google, the list of jobs by Google, right? So Google has also entered into this. So now the candidates who earlier used to go to, let's say, job portals and search for the job, they probably run the Google query. It means that companies have to be more, you know, um, efficient with their SEO, search engine optimization, so that their job should come on the top, right? So things are changing. The way you interact with candidates, the way the interface have changed. There's so many social media platforms that have come up, right? We don't even talk about Quoras and we don't even talk about Reddit. We just specifically speak about Facebook, Twitter, and probably Instagram, right? There's so many other platforms, right? Now, in order to solve the hiring problem, there are multiple factors that contributes to it, right? And we should never forget that it's a candidate-driven market. So we need to make sure that candidate experience is of utmost importance, it's of utmost priority throughout the process. They should, when they're applying to the job, it should be easy. They should be, some simple tips. They should be easily able to apply with the phone. They should be able to easily get their questions answered as early as possible. They should be keep updated with respect to their application. They should be felt valued. So a lot of companies, what they're doing is once they release an offer, right? They have these weekly sessions with the candidates. They invite them where top leadership talk to them to keep them engaged. So these are all the efforts that are being made and of course, with so many unicorns coming up in all parts of the world, there is a cutthroat competition, right? You know that, so that you can't beat, right? That is like the budget that probably one unicorn has, you and me cannot have, probably, right? So, but apart from that, all other stuff are in your hand. It's like influencing the candidate to make them feel important, make them feel they're making the right decision working for you. So that as simple as your career page should give them insights into what kind of company you are. There should be some testimonials about your employees, why they feel it's a right place to work. There's so many these small things that contributes to candidate experience that can help change their mind, right, in a way, before then just taking a bigger offer, right?
True, true. Well, thank you so much, Amit, for delving deeper into that. Okay, now I think it's the most interesting part for everyone in the audience. If you could tell me a little bit about CVs, and there are three questions to that main question. How is CV solving all these problems you just mentioned earlier?
Okay.
What does the AI play a role in, or the integral part of it? And why smart automation is required in this industry?
Okay. So simple. So what we do at CVIZ, as I said, the journey of any hiring process is like job requirement. Then you want to source the candidates. Then you want to engage the right candidates. And then you want to make sure they continue with you through the process and ultimately join you. So the first part that I said, reaching to the right candidates. Once you have the job requirement clear, instead of just relying on the traditional practices of hiring a database, candidate database, and searching them with keywords, what we do, we have that option with CVs as well, but what we do, we take your job and broadcast it to multiple platforms, including social media, GitHub, if it's tech hiring, GitHub, if Stack Overflow, if you're hiring designers and all, so Dribble and all. So those kind of specific platforms, which generally people don't think about. And then we have partnership with some big job boards. They don't cost, they don't charge us any money. So our customers also don't have to pay. So it gets automatically broadcasted to these platforms for free of cost. Apart from that, we are partnered with 2,000 job boards worldwide, right? Where you can run job ads, right, at discounted prices. So the important part here is, and the interesting part here is, what we do is we help you. So when you're posting a job, we help you identify what are the best job posting or job hiring platform for you. So when I say job hiring, it does not mean job boards alone. It could also mean Instagram ad. It could also mean Facebook ads also. So you can run all those through CVs as well, right? So once you do that, so the idea here is to reach, use the platform that is most relevant to the kind of hiring you are doing. So when I say kind of hiring, it means the kind of industry you're hiring for, the kind of geography you're in, right? The kind of function and job function you're hiring for. So once you do that, we provide you with some recommendation. You can use those recommendations, post your job free of it, and then you'll start getting a lot of attention to the jobs that you're posting. Once that is done, the candidates start applying to the jobs, right? And so when they apply, with CVs, you can create a quiz for them, which is like pre-screening stuff. Like when they apply, you can ask any kind of questions, right, from the notice period, salary expectations to, the visa status they have, and blah blah blah. And once you receive in the actual resume or actual application, our AI, the AI engine, it automatically screens them, right? So we screen them based on like the job requirement, the industry and the function that you are hiring for, the geography that you are hiring for. Apart from that, we also use your past hiring decisions, right, to get you the most relevant candidate. And why that is because I'll give you a simple example that if you're hiring a marketing analyst or data analyst or full stack developer, data scientist, if you talk about any industry, let's say IT industry, right? Where if you talk about IT, there's so many different kinds of companies out there, like product companies, service-based organization, captives, right? And even though the job description looks similar, each of these organizations hire very differently from each other, right? The product companies hire very differently than service-based companies. So what we have done is we have trained our algorithm to this classification. It understands how a data scientist in product company looks different than how data scientist in service-based company, right? And we use also, as I said, your job requirement and all geographies and everything together to help you find the most relevant candidates, right? So that you can start engaging the most relevant candidate first, rather than doing it first in first go approach, right? So, and once you, identify who are the relevant ones, we have that email automations. You can, set up the campaign. The emails can go to them automatically. They can keep up. You can keep them updated. You can schedule video interviews with us. You can record their interviews and set up interviews automatically. All of those small things where otherwise most of the companies are calling candidates and checking with the hiring manager. All those manual stuff, manual steps are being taken out so that the recruiters can focus on talking to the most relevant candidates, which is the most important part, right? So that is how we are trying to smartly automate different stages of the hiring.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, apologies. I'm a huge fan of CVs. So before we've been recruiting on our own on LinkedIn, posting jobs, or on other job boards, and it's been you need to manage those job boards. You get the resumes. It takes time to go through them, and then the shortlisting process, scheduling interviews, trying to call them up. It's such a waste of time. And me as a true customer of CVs as well, I can see the headache is gone because I saw we've got the email integrations, we've got the calendar integrations. I think there was even online video with testing, code testing integration. I don't want to delve into the features, but I've just wanted to see how CVs could help other organizations here. Maybe you guys are listening to this, and if you want to have a look, just reach out to Amit, and he can definitely talk more about that. And also the AI, I think, because everybody might think, okay, yes, we are a startup, English, but I guess the AI has foreign language screening support, or it's in the books, correct?
Yes. So the screening process, so it works. We haven't released the version for the other languages. Currently, we support only English language.
Yeah.
But in our beta phase, we've seen that it also works for some of the foreign languages, and we have tested it for French, Portuguese, and German. Yeah.
German. Yeah, you mentioned German. I remember that. Yeah, that is interesting because the German language has special letters with all with double dots and stuff. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, talking about customers in general, what was your first breakthrough? And if you maybe can share a little bit about that success story and how the AI was leveraged in that.
Right. Okay. So it's a funny story. So we were exhibiting our product. This was I think 2017 or 18, and we were exhibiting our product in one of the big HR events. And then we happened to come across a gentleman, Etienne. He was a managing director for Societe Generale. It's a French bank, and they had this, and they are 150,000 employees organization worldwide. And the gentleman came to us and he said, we run an accelerator program, and this is one of our problem statement, but it's a little different. And he said, would you like to compete for it, the accelerator program? I said, why not, right? So we competed for the accelerator program, and we were selected. But the problem statement was a little different. Now, primarily when we talk about hiring, everybody thinks about lateral hiring. We are hiring people from outside, but because for the organization as big as Associate General, like 150,000 employees, they have many internal positions open, right? And he said there were about 20,000 positions worldwide open for internal movement, right? What they wanted us, like, use the algorithm and do the matchmaking for their employees. So until then, their employees used to go to the internal job board, use the keyword search, and they would get 100 jobs, and they have to go to 100 jobs and go through it to find which one is relevant, right? So after we deployed a solution there, it was like handpicked 5 to 10 jobs so that they can easily go through. So the engagement has improved. As I said in the beginning, the customer experience, right? Your employee is also your customer. So how you, because, and they saw an improved engagement rate where candidates, the employees were, going and checking the jobs now more often, and they were happy about it. And then, of course, because we already had a solution for external hiring, they also used it there. So that was our like big break. But one of the stories, because we were talking about it, I'll talk about my first success. And this was more of a break, commercial break. But before that, when I was trying to get beta users for my product, so I went door to door to a lot of recruitment agencies, as I said, low hanging fruit, and they do that's where the biggest churn happened. So I requested many of them, would you like to test my product? And a lot of people actually, this was 2017, used to laugh at me, this is not how recruitment works. We've been doing it for 20, 30 years and all. I said, just try it out, let me have the feedback. So one of the recruitment agencies, they're like 30, 40 people, big one, they agreed. They were gracious enough to agree. And then we sat with them. I did the initial setup and the training that I was supposed to do. And then they uploaded a position called as Java developer. And they uploaded about 2,200, 2,200 resumes in there. And then we clicked on the button to see the result. And the candidate who came on the top was the actual hire. This was like, I was keeping my fingers crossed. This was the first time somebody outside my network testing it. And the candidate who came on top was on top. And I was like ecstatic. Even till today, that is my biggest, wow moment. That day I felt a little good about, that this solution has a market. This solution is viable. And this can take the load. Like 2,000 resumes. We did it in like 2 minutes. They had the result on the screen. I didn't expect the first candidate to be their hire. What we promise is we take you to the most relevant candidate. So like icing on the cake, right? The first candidate on the top. So yeah, so that was kind of a first boost for us.
Wow, very interesting. So before I move on, because you mentioned the name Societe Generale and they're huge, right? So are you saying that CVVIZ can cater towards these large organizations as well as mid-sized companies, but also for startups?
Of course, because we had multiple solutions, right? So we started with resume screening, which was focused because people, whenever we talk about hiring, people think of large enterprises, right? They, it goes hand in hand. Like hiring is by big organizations. So generally, the solution they are interested in is resume screening because they get ton of applications. They need some mechanism to screen the resume. So that's the solution large enterprises most of the time interested are. The SMBs, they used to use the products, either their homegrown products or built in like 90s or early 2000, had not on cloud and do not have integration capabilities. So they started asking us if we had the end-to-end recruiting software, also called as applicant tracking system. And that's what we built for them based on the recommendations and feedback that we receive. So we are also catering to SMB and they are generally interested in end-to-end hiring, the ATS platform. And of course, like startups also. And as I said, I just gave the stats a minute ago where I said, from 5,000 to 60,000 startups in India in 5 years, right? So there's a huge market. And yes, we're catering to all of them. Because,
awesome. Yeah, definitely. And one thing I've heard, because to talk about the story, you went to these recruiting agencies asking to beta test your products. I'm sure by now they must be implementing it. So what you're also saying is CVs as a platform can also be used by recruiting agencies to make their jobs easier and more efficient to hire candidates, right?
Yes. For recruitment agencies, they work a little differently. Hiring in recruitment agencies versus hiring in companies is very different. For recruitment agencies, it is actually a sale process rather than hiring, because they get commission when the candidate get placed, right? So it's more like a sell process. So they need to keep, they use multiple ways to look at the candidates or source the candidates, headhunting. Um, so one of the workflow for them is a candidate workflow where they have to manage candidates. The other workflow they also have to manage is their customers, where they're managing their existing customer and also looking for new customers. Like then there is a CRM, customer relationship management, they have to handle. So we had to make a little more adjustments, right? Um, and I think uh, 6 months ago, we also launched those features that help them manage these other aspects of the hiring, because as I said, for them it's more of a sales process. So even we have good chunk of customers who are also recruitment agencies, and we are seeing the rise, and the requests that we are getting from the recruitment agencies as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I've got two more questions for you.
Sure.
One is, let's say you're talking to the corporates, and most of these corporates, and I don't want to say traditional or don't want to disrespect the big players out there in the market, but those corporates, they might already have an HRMS or maybe a recruiting solution. How flexible are you towards integrating with their existing, let's say, hiring solution?
Oh, we do. So we have the whole platform is API only or API based platform. So it means that if I have to say in simple language, every single feature can be, exported or exposed as a feature, outside CVs as well. So we have done this integration with their existing HRMS, where they can integrate. As I said, large enterprises, they're largely interested in our resume screening feature, and we have done those integrations with some of the biggest and the oldest players in the recruitment industry. So we have done that already. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Okay. What are your future plans, my dear Amit? And what are the future plans of CVs, and what does the roadmap look like?
So there's so much to do. I mean, I mean, we always there's always new thing that is coming up in the recruitment industry. Not so long ago, video interviews were not popular. They were used only if the candidate is in the remote location, wants to relocate. Then the interviews used to happen, on the video conference, right, in a closed room. That with the pandemic and everything, we have seen big spike in the video interviews, right? Now there are video analytics coming up. There's so many. There are asynchronous video. There's so many different industries also. Like blue collar hiring is very different than white collar hiring. Hospitality industry hires differently than any other industry. All those things, right? So we are trying to, and this is all the feedback that we are gathering from different kind of customers, right? So something like video interview is something that we may or may not build it ourselves, right? But we may partner with some of the other players, and we're already in discussion with them, right? So things like that, the immediate plan is we want to bring in many integrations, platforms like, we're getting integrated with Zapier, Tably. These are the kind of platforms that enable you to do multiple integrations. And we would be also doing some direct integration with something like Slack and all. The Slack is very famous in the startup community, right? Where they want everything to be on the Slack, right? So we're also trying to bring that so that at the end of the day, our customer should have, the easy experience where they can see things are being done automatically without doing, switching many applications. So that is the plan, bringing many integrations in one place.
Awesome, awesome. I've got a more of a scary question for you, or maybe. Uh,
Sure.
do you see AI replacing us humans completely in the end-to-end hiring system? Like you've already got the AI for resume screening. Do you think AI will replace all of us?
Not at all. Not at all. See, there are human aspect, the emotional quotient when we talk about it. It's not replaceable, right? So when you speak to any new person, a stranger, you always have this vibe, right? It's a good person, bad person. No, I want to talk to him more. I want to learn more about it, or rather stay away. intuition, biases, whatever you may call it. We all have that, right? Everybody has that. And that is what, you believe it or not, that is what helps you make those final decisions, right? That cannot be replaced. That cannot be replaced. What AI is not replacing jobs. AI is more about helping you more, to become more efficient. Like, as I said, resume screening. You start screening 20 resume, you get like 5 8 hours, depending how you do it, right? Or 2 days, 3 days. It can be done in a few seconds, right? I'm not saying we are not eliminating any candidate using AI. It's like Google search. Google doesn't eliminate any pages, but it just helps you get connected with the most relevant result. So that's what we are trying to do here. And it's being proven, our success rate has been more than 80%, right? And it's getting better every month. So what we are trying to do is we're just trying to connect you with the right people. After that, it is only you, right? Hiring managers, recruiters, talking to them and making those decisions, right? So something like, it's not just AI. I also use AI is sometimes used. It's more than more than what it is required. But smart automation, small thing like scheduling interviews doesn't need AI. It's a simple automation that you can place. And you don't need to waste your time, calling candidate 3 times and then hiring manager 3 times, or the interview panel again 3 times. Yeah, have a platform, have a method where all of them can choose the common slot, right? So these kind of things is going to save you time and hassle and a lot of energy. So that's what we are focused at.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amit. I think I've covered it all, unless you wanted to talk about something else.
No, I think I covered all things.
Awesome. No. So I'm going to bring a fun session. So Debashish had the rapid fire questions. So I'm going to replicate some of them. I haven't prepared for those questions, so I'm just going to go dynamically in the flow.
Okay.
Let's say if you calculate back to when CVs was founded, but you already have the knowledge of this 7 years or 5 years of knowledge. Would you continue to build CVs, or would you go back to the corporate job?
Of course, I'll continue. I've always been, even in my corporate, experience or the career that I had with all the organizations that I worked for, I was always passionate about solving problems. And this is like my own baby. I'm just nurturing it and, making it, more ready for the future that we were looking into. Yeah.
Okay. Second, and I'm going to take it from the last session, IPO or acquisition?
Acquisition.
Do you want to explain why?
There may be, the way I know, even now, there's so many problems I keep seeing, and then I love to solve those. So it could happen that I may step away from CVs and let it continue to evolve and grow with some other person handling it, and then I look into some other problem. So essentially, I love that part, right? So I don't know. IPO the success chance of a startup is already slim, and then you're asking for someone going into IPO is like 1 in a million. Acquisition is more achievable, I believe, and then I can move on a different problem.
Awesome. Perfect. Third question, and it's got 3 parts, and you can only choose one. India, Europe, or the US?
US.
Okay. Why?
So I assume you meant market, right? So there are various reasons. I have started selling my product in India, and then now we have customer from around the globe, with US as number one. Where we have our customers from. US has this culture. They, even if you see there are 2 people company, they would be using 5 different products, right? So there could be many reasons for it. That's their culture. Again, the human resource, hiring an employee is very expensive compared to buying the product, versus the other geographies that we speak about, where resource is available easily. So focus on technology is not as much. So selling a product in US market, you don't need to do hard selling. So most of my customer, I would say 90% of our customer are DIY. They sign up for a free trial, they use it. Some of them don't even complete the free trial, they start paying us, and so I haven't spoken to a lot of my customers ever, apart from my automated emails. So it is that easy because they're already used to using products. So that's easy.
Okay, interesting. So I think that's it. I don't want to burden you too much with my rapid fire questions. What are the 3 hints, topics, advices you would give towards the market when it comes to hiring?
3 advices for what?
For hiring, recruiting.
It needs a change. I mean, don't think your candidates as customers, right? Use modern methods, right? Do job advertisements. Try to think of running Google ads because that's where people are spending time. Facebook ads. Because if I just start to talk about Naukri, we just know Naukri.com. The parent company name is InfoAge. They themselves run 4 different job boards. People, I don't know if you're aware about that. And this is because Naukri has been ruthless, has been number 1 in India for almost, I think, about 24, 25 years, right? But they themselves have multiple job boards because people are no longer on one platform. So don't get caught into an idea that one platform, one solution is going to help you solve all these problems, right? So explore more. Second, work on candidate experience, right? Where you cannot make a mistake because it's a candidate-driven market. There are companies waiting in line to hire that candidate, right? Everybody knows that. And the third thing is build audience, build your brand, right? This is more for SMB, like the big companies are, they don't need to work so much. But if you want to hire good people, build a brand, right? Where you talk about, if it's only about hiring, then why it is so great about working at your company. Build an audience. If you're a traveling company, have a really good travel blog where people generally know about you, that it's a beautiful travel blog. They get all their queries answered on your blog related to travel or accommodation. That's just one example. So build a brand because that's going to work wonders for you rather than the traditional methods.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amit, for those tips. Before we open it up to the round for questions, if anybody wants to ask questions, come on stage live, please raise your hand. If you guys want to try out CVs, it's very simple. You go to www.cvviz.com, and there you can do a free trial. I tell you, it will change the way recruiting. I've gone through it. We've been using it for the past 4 months. We have over 1,000 candidates now in our database. It works. And the AI screening is great. Again, Amit, thank you so much for taking time today and giving us more insights about the hiring practices and also about CVs, but also sharing your personal story.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, please do not be shy to raise your hand. If you have any questions, please raise them, and then you can either ask the question on stage, or if you put them into the chat window here or in YouTube Live, we will answer them for you. Okay, we've been getting some claps. Someone first needs to raise their hand, and then everybody follows behind. That's usually how it works. If nobody's gonna ask questions, then I'm gonna maybe invite someone to the stage randomly. Okay.
I think somebody put up a question in the chat, I guess. Sabu Narayanan, if you want to take that.
Okay, there's a chat. Okay, so hi Sabu. So Sabu is the general manager of UST Global in Kochi. Sabu, would you like to come on stage, or would you rather have us talk? But maybe we can answer. So yeah, the question is, Amit, why is your solution so unique?
I don't look into uniqueness as much because even if I build some uniqueness today, there will be companies and competition that will catch it up, in a month, 2 months, 3 months time. Why we recommend our solution is because it's built by constant feedbacks that we have received from the actual people who are doing the hiring, right? So you don't hear about platforms integrating with like 2000 job boards worldwide. So our vision has been always global. So here you're sitting here in India, you can hire for any other countries, and there are many companies, they are doing hiring for US or Europe from India. So those companies, they can use our solution, do post their jobs and do run ads on the platforms they never heard about, because our platform give you that recommendation. And that is just one use case, right? So there are very, very, very few platforms that may have that kind of integration. And our AI has matured over the period of 5 years. As I said in the beginning, that's the first solution that we built, right? So it has gone through so many different industries, so many recruiters, so many feedback. It has fine-tuned to a level that it produces excellent results, right? Thanks, Abel.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we have some. Okay, so Sudhir from The Gain is asking, are there any free offerings for startups through an incubator accelerator? Maybe for initial few hirings? I know the answer. There is there's already a free trial anyway. I think it's a 2-week trial.
Yeah.
So and it does magic. So Sudhir, if you want to get in touch with us, please be our guest.
And I think Sudhir is also asking for, I think, some programs for stuff. Yeah, you can talk to Swan. We have given them some discounts that they can offer it to you, pass on it to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So Sudhir, if you get in touch with me or Debashish, then we can pick it up from there. I think more Debashish. Okay, we have one more person who raised their hand. There you go. And that is Debashish. Let me just make it like this. Hey Debashish, thank you so much for joining us on stage.
Hey, my pleasure, my pleasure. And it was a delight listening to both of you interact. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amit, for joining, and Sven, thank you for organizing this. Amit, I've got two questions. One
Sure.
is there has been a world pre-COVID and there has been a world post-COVID. Now, how do you see the HR hiring trend moving? Is it moving more virtual, more remote? Now that we are opening up in the COVID era, uh, how do you think that the CVIZ is, definitely CVIZ is a very big platform helping them, but how do you think CVIZ is contributing in helping identifying remote resumes and helping them getting hired? That's one part. The second question, okay, let's you answer the first and then we
Yeah.
will
So I
come.
think I partly answered that with, I said, there's a sharp rise in video interviews. That's the first thing happened, right? Because people are not in the offices, they have to conduct interviews while, either they're using Zoom or they prefer to use some specialized platform that are meant for hiring, right? So that's the first thing. So we have a brief solution about it, which we want to build into a bigger thing. Second thing, as you rightly said, it's a lot of remote hiring happening. Some of the companies have gone and announced that they will be remote forever, right? Some of the companies are getting into a hybrid model. It means that there are many remote options, right? So companies in Europe hiring in India or Southeast Asia, it's very common nowadays. Like even in the Latin America, this regions, like, and I've seen South Africa getting a lot of remote positions. So I'm seeing a lot of remote positions being posted using our platform. So what we do is what we contribute. As I said, we are partnered with so many platforms across the world. So if you're in Europe and want to hire in India, probably you may not have good information on how hiring happens in India. So we take your job automatically, share it with right partners, organic, paid, and or social media platform. It is SEO friendly. We make sure the SEO is right so that it reaches to the right local candidates, and so that your jobs get exposed or highlighted to candidates in that locality. So that is something has changed and is being used heavily post COVID. How do you
That's
think?
awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So that brings me to the follow-on question to this is, since remote hiring is increasing, it is also giving rise to other complexities which is not predicted, uh, which probably could have got warded off on a face-to-face interview. How are you gearing your product to the next level to actually take care of that? Because that is where the scale is, right?
I think you're referring to more of an assessment or actual video interviews happening.
Well, I'm
So
assessing to the points which probably some of the points which could have got covered on a face-to-face interview. I mean, you probably do a video and then you call the candidate over to your office. But if you're hiring somebody from South Africa in India, you don't expect the guy to fly down.
right.
So, what are the other defensibilities, or the other what are the other features you are planning to build on your platform to make strengthen this aspect?
I think the answer would remain same because uh, there are new platforms coming up for the remote working. So there are platforms that I've seen that are coming up is like the remote work environment where everybody is logged in kind of a meeting room and chatting live, and it's like they try to give virtual experience. But we are not into that. We are more into the getting taking your jobs to the right candidates, appealing them so that they can apply, and then we automatically screen and engage them to the point of hiring. So what I said in the beginning for the last question, the two things that we improve is like taking your job to the right people using mediums like SEOs and Google. So those kind of things we are trying to strengthen, and we are trying to partner with more of remote job boards. There was also a rise of remote job boards in the last 2 years, where people are only posting remote jobs. Okay,
Correct.
so yeah, so that's where we stop. I mean, our involvement stops at the job offer, and then the other. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amit.
Thank you, Devashish. So we have one more question in the chat from Samkit. He's the director of Hack to Skill. AI hiring. For example, if I need two IT resource in some specific category, the platform will automatically send us the best resource as per my requirement? Question mark.
No, we don't. So we don't go and fetch the candidates for you. We are more into inbound hiring, but we take the job to the right platforms where you're probably. For example, you said IT resource. So I think we can take you a job, or we can help you connect with people on GitHub, the best programmers, place to find the best programmers, right? So that's what we do. We help you expose. Otherwise, you don't hear, most of the 95% of the time, you don't hear recruiters talking about hiring on GitHub, right? So we open those doors for you. So once we post your job there, take your job to the candidates there, and if they apply, we immediately tell you how good they are. We don't eliminate anyone. We'll just tell you these are the 5 candidates we found in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that.
Exactly. And that's a good point, Amit, which I forgot to ask. So in a way, you are indirectly sourcing, and which means to how many job boards are we linked right now?
2,000 worldwide.
Okay, awesome. And there's also a way, just like LinkedIn has it, if you want to promote your ad in a
Yes, this is about. So I think we are partnered with 20 job sites that allow free posting, like through us. You don't have to do anything. In a click, it goes to 20 different channels. But if you want to run paid ads, right, either on Indeed, LinkedIn, or any platform that you can think of. Even if you go to US, there are so many. The diversity hiring is big in US. The veteran hiring is big. So you have so many different portals, local portals. Different countries has different flavors, and we are integrated with them. So we take, as I said, we take your job to them, and then this way we are integrated with 2,000 platforms worldwide, and we can broadcast your job at a very highly discounted rates on most of the job boards.
Awesome, perfect. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that area in the platform, and I don't. Maybe it's just me, but I thought every time I post a job on CVs, it did recommend me which top 5 job boards I should post on as well.
We do. So as I said, so there are 2,000 job boards, but based on 3 main parameters: geography, job profile you're hiring for, and the industry. We recommend you what are the top 15 to 20 platforms that you can consider. And this may include, as I said, YouTube ads or Google ads or Instagram ads, Facebook ads as well, apart from like Dice or LinkedIn or Indeed.com, Monster.com, which are traditional platforms, right? So we recommend what is based on these three parameters. You can use our recommendation, or you can choose from the other 2,000 job boards and post your ad there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I don't see any other questions. We're very efficient with timing,
Yep.
I guess. Okay. So Samkit wrote something more. I am running one developer-centric hackathon. How can we associate with CVs?
Hackathon it's an assessment problem, right? So you're trying to give them multiple 2 to 3 problem statements, and then you are asking them to come up with a solution maybe in 24 hours or 48 hours, right? That's how the hackathons are executed. So we are not into assessments, as I said. We are mostly streamlining into hiring. Assessment, there are many other assessment platforms. Like, I think for when you say hackathon, I'm assuming you're looking at hiring for junior position, maybe freshers or junior positions. So I think HackerRank, Hacker, those. He says
not hiring. I think what he's maybe Samkit, do you want to come on stage? Maybe ask us the question live. Okay, so if you just raise your hand, then we can talk about that. Okay, take some time. So on the top right, there should be a raise my hand button. Or let me see if I can invite you directly on stage. Oh, there you go. Awesome.
Hi, Amit. Yeah, and visible too, because I'm not able to see.
Your camera is not loading. I think no, camera is
Oh.
not. But we can hear you.
Yeah, no issue. So the thing is, Amit, so we used to plan some engagement activity for the developers community only. So hiring is not our goal, and we are not into this hiring business and all. We are only upskilling or maybe I can say, so you are in the second stage, we are into the first stage of upskilling that resources and all. And I'm talking about the developer community and all. So how can we associated with CVs where we can put so like we used to do a lot of hackathons in Web3 and all. So how can we use your network, your audience, kind of a partnership, maybe for a long-term partnership, if that kind of a marriage is possible. So just exploring, we can even talk offline also. I thought.
I think this is more of a strategic questions. If I have to jump, so I think we can take it offline.
And I really like the way you explained the entire your initiative, and best of luck for your venture.
Thank you so much, Samkit.
Thank you so much, Samkit, for joining us. Okay, so if there is nobody else, we've got 3 more minutes. I can close the session and we can go for networking. I believe there will be a networking table after we end this live session, so we can all go to a table and talk. But Amit, again, very inspiring session today. After a couple of months, I even learned a bit more about your story, your personal story. And would love to see where this goes. And if you want to connect with Amit, find him up on LinkedIn. If you want to try out the platform, it's very easy. There's a free trial. Go to CVVIZ.com. If you want to talk about strategic partnerships like Samkit did, connect with Amit, speak to him. And if you, Sudhir, I think we should also talk about the offering for incubation and acceleration. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Zubain. Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.